So welcome everybody. Great to see so many of you here live on the webinar with us. So we're here with Dominic Scaffidi and Grace Kelly. The webinar is Living Miraculously, Stop Striving, Start Allowing. As I was saying before we started the recording, don't know, is it Grace? Is it Dominic? Is it the topic? We don't why so many people have signed up, because we've had a 220 something signed up when I last looked. So an amazing amount of registrations. We know lots of people will watch the recording. Excited to have you here. I believe, I didn't check in actually, but I believe knowing Dominic and Grace pretty well now and having gone through their programs, they'll be in conversation and then they'll open it up for questions, comments. So save those until they decide it's time. So I just want to briefly, just in case you don't know who Dominic is, he's a certified coach. He's a wonderful human being. He lives in Canada. Yeah, well, I organised a retreat for both Grace and Dominic here in May of this year. Some of you were there. I see you on the screen, and it was wonderful. So this is a preview. I'm going to say something about you, Grace, in a minute. So this is a preview to the upcoming one that we're doing in November. And it's actually called Living Miraculously, the 3-day retreat. So we wanted to give people a taste of that. So Grace Kelly is somebody who came into my world, I guess, through knowing Dominic and being a participant on their online Living Miraculously program. Another wonderful human being who I met in person here in Albir in May. And Grace is a transformational coach. She supports clients in finding deeper joy and success with their service. Yeah, I'm just going to hand the mic over to one of them, and you'll get a sense of who they both are. So over to you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thanks for organizing this and arranging this. And Grace and I were dubbed the Sonny and Cher of because by one of our Living Miraculously participants. You will note, those of you who know us, we have different approach or different style as we point to the same thing. I'm a total geek, be very precise in my articulation and the way I speak about this. Grace is graceful, poetic, and very beautiful in her articulation of all of this. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. And those two perspectives really seem to resonate. And I certainly get a lot of value from both the perspectives there.
Yeah.
Grace.
Thank you, Dominic. Yeah, it's lovely to be here with you all today. And we really hope that you do enjoy our combined perspectives as we go about sharing this Living Miraculously approach. And I think let's just be in conversation, Dominic. You know,
Right.
we Dominic and I like to about this subject, and in fact, the whole way that our online program was born was through a series of conversations that Dominic and I were having, looking in the direction of the miraculous. But today we did want to really hone in on 3 distinctions that we feel really point to a less effortful experience of life, a more miraculous feeling and way of being in life. So let's just converse on that as we always would.
Yeah, we can start. There's 3 things we'll touch on, which is in Living Miraculously, you really are living from the whole of you. So as a result, one of the inquiries, explorations in the program is around who you really are. That might be, you know, all you ever need to know is explore. It's probably why there's that saying that is around know thyself. When you know thyself, then you are living true to yourself with a capital S. So that's essential to living miraculously, is that exploration, grounding, coming from who you really are, coming from the whole of you rather than a part of you. The couple of other distinctions we'll touch on too is around true desire. From the whole of you, that is where true desire is held. And we distinguish true desire from what you think you want. So there's what you think you want, and then there is true desire. And that is held, we could say, by the whole of you, held by your soul. And then obviously, miracles would not be something that you go out and achieve. They are effortless. Miracles can only be allowed. And you allow them when you're not resisting them. And so we'll touch on all three of these things. And yeah, that's so. Where do you want to start, Grace?
I think let's start at the top. You know, miracles can only be allowed because that is something that really strikes me as really taking the effort and the striving out of life, as we begin to see the miraculous. So some of you might say, well, it depends what you classify as a miracle. And it depends if you're tuned into looking in that direction. But in relation to just how I see the miracles unfolding is that we can literally wake up in the morning and set our intention for something we would like to experience. We have the capacity and the potential to be very clear with what it is we're yearning for or wanting to call in. And sometimes I think that when we've been in a cycle of pushing and striving, we literally forget to ask for the miracle, to ask for the support. And it looks to me like our allowing of this miraculous to take place can sometimes be helped with a little bit of asking, a little bit of clarifying and defining what it is we're wanting to experience. Now, how do we get to that place? Well, it's hard to find or see or notice a miracle or even know what to ask for if we're in a very busy state of mind. So there has been some level of, at least in my life, Dominic, there's been some level of, you know, allowing the mind to quieten down, to hear, see, notice, receive what's really going on in the world, what's really available for us. And so, as many of you know, in the experience of my partner's death, that was when I noticed that I really started asking for the miraculous. I really started yearning for the miracle. I didn't realize that they could just be asked and allowed, that there was very little of my requirement for involvement. And miracles went from tiny things to large things to really super miraculous things. In fact, I even think that this whole direction of this program and being able to offer the retreat in this program is all part of that miraculous allowing. But the key there for me was getting out of the way. And the key there was clarifying in a way, you know, well, what is it I want today? Not not what I think I want. What is it I truly want to experience today? So I don't know. It's just something where I want to off.
I love that start. And I love the way you just said it. It's like, what is it I truly want? See, different than what is it, what I think I want. So different than what is it? See, what is it I truly want is an inquiry, is a wondering. And the answer is you feel for the answer. You don't make it up. You feel for that answer of what it is that you want. And it's interesting because if you feel for the answer, that means it is there. Otherwise, you couldn't feel it. So this is the thing with that. What you truly desire is known. What you truly want, desire, is known. And we can feel our way into alignment with what we desire. And the expression or manifestation of what we truly desire is effortless. Because in fact, the current manifestation of everything in your life is effortless too. You experience what you expect. You experience, manifest, experience, live in what you are expecting. And in a way, we say, you allow what you are not in resistance to. So when you want something like a relationship and you expect it, it comes and it comes easily. When you want a thriving business and you expect it, it comes and it comes easily. So this is why the miraculous is effortless. And the effort is required because I don't always have a desire that I expect. I don't always desire something I expect to experience. And in every case, what is in the way, it's what you said, Grace, about sometimes we have a busy mind. Well, the thing about the busy mind is that sometimes I'm thinking about what I desire a lot. And the things you think about the most, like thinking about it, thinking about my business, thinking about how I want a thriving business, thinking about how I want more business, thinking about how I don't have what I want. And the things you think about the most contain the most resistance, because the more thinking goes into it, the more you are likely focused in opposition. You are likely focused on what's hard about it, what your doubts are about it, where your pessimism is about it. More likely, because if it weren't more likely that your thinking is in opposition to what you desire, you would simply desire and expect it. If I order a pizza, I just expect it to arrive. So I order a pizza and I expect it to arrive. I also order a pizza and expect it to arrive exactly the way that I order it. I don't have a lot of thinking about it. You could say I have a high level of trust, a very high level of faith in the pizza company that we order from. It could be that I have a higher level of trust and faith in that pizza company than I do in the universe, than I do in the whole of me. Because on some of those items, I think a lot. about that. So they aren't so effortless.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, it's such a good point, Dominic, because for some, we are placing far more expectancy on the not so miraculous. And so that keeps playing out. And yet we know this isn't about building our faith more. This isn't about deepening our level of trust. This is about us being who we truly are. And when we're living from that place, that miraculous experience unfolds. So there's no like rules, just in case anyone's listening and they're like, oh, I better get my expectancy up. I better work on my faith. There are no conditions for you to live a miraculous life. There's no right way of doing this. But you might notice that, like Dominic pointed out, you might notice you have more trust in the pizza being delivered than you do in your business starting to boom or your house renovation being completed on time. Now, for me personally, as you know, Dominic, because I know I can get in my own way, I do like to play with the universe when I am wanting to live miraculously, when I have a desire for something. I find it helpful to get little grace out of the way and just verbalize with this divine energy that's working through life, behind life, in life, through life, in us, and simply say, on some request level, please take care of that. And in some way, when we're handing it over, and not everyone has to do this, and again, it's not a rule, but if you notice that you can get in your own way, I want to invite you all to remember that there is a divine loving energy that can go to work on your behalf. There is a divine loving energy that we're not separate from, but that we seem to forget to call upon, or we seem to forget to that there's an existence of that, as we instead take the steering wheel on life and start efforting, striving, and stressing to get to where we're wanting to go. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I don't know what you hear there. Did you hear something?
Oh, I was just going to laugh because that's one of the differences. I've said to Grace before, I say, Grace, you're so demanding. Grace will ask, and she'll like get into the car, and like she sometimes she'll post about these things. She'll get into the car, give me some song or music that I really want, or all these things, and I'm like, Grace, you're so demanding.
Yeah, I love to be in conversation with life, and I think that life is often wanting to communicate with us. So why not ask, if you're in a little bit of difficulty with something, send me a song with the exact answer or words that I require, that I need to know.
Mm.
Find me the parking space that's perfect for right now. As I go about my shopping today, come with me and help me choose the most healthful foods. At least for me, because I know if I get in my own way, I'll just do the same shopping that I always do. So the beautiful thing about us living miraculously is that we actually can be in connection and conversation with life, with divine energy, with the miraculous. And we can start living from this way of gracefulness, really, where we receive what we need. And I'd love for us to talk, Dominic, about the difference between that receiving and thinking up. You know, like the desires, the true desire versus thinking up what we want.
Yeah. Just before we touch on that, I think this is a great example of how we designed this inquiry and, bring people through it. We really want to be experiential around it. And I know in our online program, we've created over the 8 weeks, we've created all these little assignments. They're fun assignments that you do. And so from what Grace was saying, in the idea of asking for a sign or asking for the thing you want, and then noticing what happens. One of the things I was doing in the early days is, and continue to now, is really alertness about the miracles that are happening. So in other words, since miracles are not something to be achieved, they're happening all the time. And it occurred to me that if I would notice more and more of what's happening, I would be tuned into the miraculous more and more. So, and what we do is we will, as well as speak to this exploration and bring people through the kind of inquiry of it, we'll also do these kinds of fun assignments that you can take on between, and we do that. And so these assignments, like noticing miracles, noticing and appreciating miracles, or the example Grace gave just now of where you're asking for a sign or asking for things. This is also what helps you to see what's already happening. And what's already happening is a deeper understanding into the nature of reality. The nature of reality is whole. The nature of reality is wholeness. There is no separation between a desire and its fulfillment. You cannot desire something within you that is not in that same instant, in the same arising of the desire, it is given. When you ask, it is given. You cannot feel a wanting for something that has not already been answered. There is a wholeness in the universe. It is always in balance. It's amazing. I sometimes I'll use the metaphor of a calculator. Oh, I have this question I'm asking and I don't know the answer. And so you put it in, it's 93 times 4.6 divided by 12 plus 32. And in the instant of the asking, the answer is given. You couldn't even formulate what your question is. Now, this gets more advanced, of course, with Google and AI and all of that. And you might notice there's actually a time lag of a few seconds or less than a second. Well, the universe has no time lag. Your formation of the question or the desire as it is formed within you contains the answer. Nothing is ever missing. So that's another reason for effortless. And then the only delay we experience between what we've asked for and the receiving of it is the momentum of thinking that we have in the way, all of which is personal thinking, finite thinking, all of it false and untrue. So it's like you want a relationship or you want more love, but you can't get that because you haven't found the right person. And then the problem is that it's not easy to find the right. So there's so much thinking, honored and respected, which keeps putting a wall and a distance and a separation between what the desire is and what you truly desire. and the fulfillment of it.
Yeah. Gosh, and you know what I realized too, Dominic, is, you know, it's like, this is good news that it's thought that is in the way. You know, it's not that you, I'm saying you as in whoever's listening, me included, right? It's not that you are the exception and you just don't have miracles available. It's not that life is punishing you and you're just not going to get that fabulous relationship or brilliant business. It's that we're using the gift of thought in a way that is not helpful. And when we don't know that that's what we're doing, of course we continue to experience the same things over and over. But hopefully, if you're listening to this today, you might start to get a little glimpse of, like, the beauty of being able to notice when your thinking is getting in the way of you experiencing the miraculous. Now, some people will say, yeah, but it's not my thinking if, you know, if, I don't know, for example, if the builder doesn't turn up on time, or if the client has changed her mind and doesn't want to do the contract anymore. It's not my thinking. Well, no, those are all real circumstances. But the gift we have, the power we have, is really being able to see that we can use our thinking any which way we like about a circumstance, about a situation. And when we're using our thinking to create resistance, judgment, stress, striving, we're not going to experience the miraculous. This is a point of power that we have as humans, that we would see this gift of thought and use it wisely, use it to experience the most miraculous life.
Mm, mm. And although it's so funny, right? Because the thinking, you might hear this like, oh, so they're going to talk about thinking and how you could change your thinking so that you could allow the miraculous or something, right? It's such a paradox because this is not about I'm going to change my thinking. Mm-hmm. It's really what we're paying attention to is the feeling. Mm-hmm. And the trouble with the thinking is that the feeling goes off when I'm, as Grace said, when I'm using my thinking in a way that's not serving me, the feeling will drop. So, you know, the miraculous, you could say living miraculously is living in flow. So when I say that, everyone gets the feeling of that, living in flow. You've had experiences of living in flow. Everything came together. I couldn't believe it. You know, I often talk about more recently, the miracle of paradise, which is the home we live in. And I'll talk about how that showed up. I didn't even know the detail of all of this in terms of the desire of this whole thing. But we had started to, you know, decided we would move at some point from the home we had lived in and loved for 28 years and go to, we said, our forever home. And so then, of course, I started on the path attempting to achieve it. What are the steps required? Well, you know, you got to do this, and we're going to have to go look at everything. And by the way, nothing wrong with that, because there's also something enjoyable about the process. In other words, you didn't come here to imagine you'd be living in a forever home, close your eyes, wake up inside that place, and you're living in it. It sounds kind of cool. So you'd say, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Give it to me. In which case you'd say, well, I close my eyes. There's a, I want to travel more. Open your eyes, and suddenly you got tickets to all these places. Again, sounds really cool. Nothing, what's wrong with that? Well, close my eyes. You may desire a relationship. Open your eyes, and you're in the relationship. It sounds really great, but keep doing that. Go on, keep doing that, and pretty soon life won't be worth living. Life won't be worth living. Keep doing that. You did not come for the creations. You did not come for these creations. You came to be a creator. You came to create your own reality. That is, to mold it into place, to feel it into exactly the way that is most satisfying for you. You didn't come for all this stuff. But so the feeling part, we began looking, and then ultimately we saw a house, and the moment I stepped on it, it was like, oh my gosh, this is our home. The joke about paradise is that it's on Paradise Avenue. And so the universe was thinking, this guy's dense, like we're going to have to be really clear. That's the house. And so I stepped onto it. It was amazing. And then it's on Paradise Avenue. So that's why I often will share the story about that. But the trouble with it was, now this was clearly what I could not achieve. So it was perfect in every way except the money. And so that was not something that was the way it should be. And it really bothered me because, of course, I've been teaching this stuff for so long. And I thought, it really bugs me that the universe would make a mistake like that. In other words, show me by the feeling what is a perfect match, and then get one of those aspects wrong. Like, how could it get that wrong? So shows me the perfect match by the feeling, and then clearly a mistake because it's not possible. And of course, it's not possible. Who said that? Who thought that? And so that's what resistance looks like. And resistance is well, that's not just my thinking. I mean, these are practical, real things. It's not just my thinking. And so how, and what I learned was, well, there's no way I'm going to figure this out, and there's no way to achieve this. So if it is to happen, something said the journey or the path to it will be in the feeling of it. It will be in the feeling of it. And what I began to do was simply to be led by the feeling of the desire of it. And so it's funny because anytime someone, either a real estate agent, financial advisor, us within the family, if ever there was a conversation where the conversation moved into doubt or pessimism, I walked away. It's like, I only want to think about, be in this, in the feeling of it. Something told me that the feeling of it would lead, it held every step all the way to its full manifestation. And so following the feeling, not trying to figure it out, what ensued was a series of miracles and synchronicities and just crazy events that are nearly unbelievable, but they did happen. And we, within a while we got it. We've been living here for just over a year. So
that's brilliant, Dominic. I love that clear example, and just two things there, just noticing, like when it's a true desire, you feel it. Like you felt that was the house. You felt that was the direction. So I'm hearing there that with the true desire is so different to thinking up what we want. True desire is really what you want to pay attention to, rather than fantasies and projections and ideas about what you think you want. And sometimes our true desire is so clear, like in Dominic's example, you just step onto a property because you're looking for the property and that's it. And sometimes they're a little more subtle, like, you receive an inspiration to do something or to go somewhere. Very different to thinking up what you should do so that you can feel better. And so, this distinction between true desire and thinking things up is very important as we go in the direction of a miraculous life, because you're really paying attention to the feeling and to where this is coming from, only and ever coming from who you really are. Like what struck me in your example, Dominic, it's like who you really are would never be saying, well, this is all perfect, but it's not possible. And yet so often we are tuned in to the voice of imperfection versus the miraculous. We're kind of tuned into that space where it's like we're receiving our miracle, but we're focused and tuned in on, but that's not possible, you see. And so if anything, the direction that we go in is in helping ourselves orientate more and more towards the miraculous, noticing more and more the miraculous. I love your example of walking away from any conversation about doubt or negativity, about the house that you truly desired. And still, friends, it doesn't mean you have to avoid people to have a miraculous life. We're not saying that. But there's something that happens as we trust our true desire that leads us in the direction of staying close to that, moving and orientating towards that, versus staying plugged in to how it's not going to work out.
That's so important. That's so important what you just said. The issue was not with the people and the conversation, it was with me. So in other words, when our real estate agents said, here's what needs to happen next, or here's what we recommend, or something like that, it was me that held that, like, oh, that's a conflict, or that's a fight, or that's scary, or that's... And so it had nothing to do with them. They're professionals. This was not an issue for them. They knew exactly how to unfold, but I could not hold that in a way that felt good. My walking away was not walking away from them because they're so negative, because they're not. I'm walking away from this thought that feels so off to me. There's something about that. What I'm feeling is the disharmony of this thinking, which is, whose thinking is this? You said it really well when you said, was it the whole of me that had that doubt? That thought of doubt or pessimism or fear or concern is not coming from the perspective of the whole of me. That's who I think I am. Who I think I am is distinct from who I really am, from the whole of me. And so, yeah, the walking away is not walking away from situations, people, and circumstances. It is letting be and letting go of the kind of thinking that I'm holding and insisting upon, which does not feel good to me. And it doesn't feel good to me because it's untrue and false to the truth of me, to who I really am.
Yeah. And isn't it so hopeful to know that who we really are will guide us? So we have desires, and sometimes with those desires, an obstacle arises, like, how am I going to pay for that? Or, you know, that's exactly what I want, but I don't have the energy for it, or the money for it, or the whatever for it. And yet who we really are can guide us beyond all of that, can figure out those details that our little human drama selves think are important. So I love this piece of who we really are, and this divine guidance system inside of us knows how to navigate you getting your true desire met. Clearly guided you, Dominic, in your example of your dream home. You know, and we have countless examples of people who've come through our program, you know, really orientating themselves towards who they truly are, and seeing that they're always taken care of, that the details do get figured out. And that's not a kind of airy fairy, let's hope for the best thinking. It's like when you're tuned into your true desire, it has to create. It has to. We have free will to say, no, I'm not going to do that, even though I know it's what I really want. I'm not going to do that because of X, Y, or Z. But when you're living more from who you really are, you know that you'll be given guidance, or that you'll be guided to support whatever obstacle is in front of you, to find solution for it, to discover the way through it. And so there's just something lovely about waking up to this self with a capital S, waking up to this true self more and more each day, this divine beauty that is each of us, and letting that rule the day, letting that lead the way.
Yeah, there's that is where the miraculous is. If you're finding yourself wanting to be something, or trying to be a particular way, or even needing to be a particular way, there's a clue in that this is that operation, that approach is coming from who you think you are. Because who you think you are is this. And then you see something, or you feel a desire within you for that. And if you're asking yourself the question, who do I need to be? You need to be who you really are. There's only ever one answer. There is nothing you need to be. There is no one you need to be. If you knew who you really were, if you knew who you really are, that is the only direction you ever have to go in, is the exploration and deeper understanding of who you really are already. Who you really are already is miraculous. And when you don't know that, then there's a trying to figure out, who do I need to be? How do I need to be in order to? And that term, by the way, in order to, is the clue that you're operating from who you think you are rather than the truth of you. From the whole of you, you are never doing anything in order to. Everything you are doing from the whole of you is a joyful expression, action, expressing aspects of you, expressing who you are. It's an unfolding of all that you are. It has no point. It's not in order to. In order to get money so that I can feel free and I can do what I want, you don't know who you are. If you knew who you really are, you would realize you are free. That is your true nature. And you can be or do or have anything. And the only thing in the way is your own thinking that would make that seem not possible. Like it made it seem like, well, I can be or do or have anything. I get that. But I certainly could never live in paradise. I could not live here because that's a practical matter. And I could give you all my thinking about why I was sure of that.
Yeah, it was last night I was listening to a recording from Sydney Banks, and some of you will be familiar with Sydney Banks's teaching. He was the enlightened Scottish welder. He had an insight that really went on to shift the understanding of psychology and psychiatry, even as we know it today. But in one of his early recordings last night I was listening to, he said, someone had asked him a question, Sid, what do I need to do to just discipline myself, to do the right thing, to discipline myself to succeed in life? And his answer was just so profound, really. He just said, anytime you're trying, there's stress. Stop trying. And I just thought that was incredible. Like, how often are we innocently efforting and stressing for the very thing you said, Dominic, because we're trying to be someone else, or trying to be a better version of ourselves, or trying to fix yet another thing about ourselves. And so there's so much freedom here that we experience this miraculous life when we're just being who we really are. The same consciousness, the same energy that's looking through my eyes at your eyes, and vice versa. This alive energy that's taking care of everything, that has designed the whole system, doesn't need to stress and strive and effort to get what he or she wants. Simply can be and allow.
We're not going to do questions, comments like that, but you're welcome to put it into the chat. It's just simply a matter of, Grace and I were talking about this. It's a matter of, it's a 1 hour. It's very difficult from a time perspective. And we wanted to provide you with a sense of what's the exploration or approach that we're doing. What is Living Miraculously about? Of course, we didn't know what it's about, because this all started miraculously almost 4 years ago when Grace approached me after having this download about this idea, and that's how it started. And it began like Grace and I were once in a while, not even all the time, but once in a while, Grace and I would offer something together. And Living Miraculously was one of the things that we offered a few years ago, except it didn't end. And the reason it didn't end is because the participants said, but you can't just end it. We want to continue the exploration. And we thought, oh, I guess we can't end it. I guess it's a continued exploration. And so we've continued to explore in this direction, and all of us have continued to see more deeply. Now, that had always been, you know, we do an online 8-week thing, and that program is how we structured it. And so we would take a distinction on each particular week. Like I said, we would do these fun assignments where the participants could see it coming alive by their own experience and see from that. And one of the participants we've had, who's Sheila, who's been in several of the Living Miraculously programs, then, you know, one of the distinctions we have is inspired action. And so Sheila one day comes and says, why don't you guys do a retreat? And we could do it live. And that inspired action from Sheila. Sheila, I don't know if you want to share about what it took from the idea to the actual.
Didn't know you were going to ask me that. Okay. So yeah, as you said, I was on your program. It was actually a 5-day free program that you ran straight after Viva last year. And it was about inspired action, and it was about the feeling, and something that you had said on your retreat in November last year was that really impacted me, that stayed with me, was whenever you get an inspired idea, it always comes with BS. And that was like, I think maybe I just like the word BS, I don't know, but it struck me as being true. And so I had an awareness about that. And so one day I was taking my morning walk, and I had this inspired idea to go to a local cafe and have a coffee. And the BS came in immediately, and it looked really sensible and logical and practical, which is how my BS looks, generally speaking. No, there's lots of things to do. You've got work to do. There's plenty of reasons why not to go. And I spotted it, and it was like, no, go to this cafe. So off I went to the cafe, had a coffee there. A lot of other things happened while I was there, but the main point of this story is, as I was driving home, and I believe it's because I was in a relaxed state, the idea came into my mind because Dominic, you had mentioned more than once on your retreat, this is the first time I've ever done a non-corporal retreat, a non-corporate gathering. The times that Grace has invited me to run a retreat together with etc. etc. So I'd heard that a few times, and the idea popped in about, I wonder if I could invite Dominic and Grace to come lead a retreat here in Spain, because I organise quite a few events throughout the year. And immediately the BS came in. Why would Grace want to do that? She lives in Italy. Grace knows how to organise retreats. Why would she have blah, 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 blah. And again, by the grace of God, I noticed the BS, and it was like, oh, and it's like, and so immediately as I got home, I tapped out an email to both of you, told you the story. It wasn't very long before 2 emails popped into my inbox and said, let's talk. That sounds like an amazing idea. And if I had listened to my normal, regular, sensible, practical type of thinking, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have run the one that we ran in May, and we wouldn't be running the one that we're going to run in November again. So yeah, it was a really wonderful example for me of not listening to allowing.
Yeah, when we don't honor that resistance, which you can tell by the feeling, when we choose not to honor that, we are then allowing. Sheila, if you could just pop in the link for the retreat for those who are able to join us. And then this will be a surprise to you, Sheila, but what Grace and I decided that everyone who registers for the retreat, including all those that are already registered. So anyone who registers for the retreat in the early bird timing, which is what is that, August 2nd or something?
I think it's the 15th of August.
August 15th. So anyone who registers for the retreat by the August 15th timing, you will also be joining us for our Living Miraculously online program included. And that includes anyone who already has registered. And the reason for that is Grace and I were like, but it seems so far away. So we're going to have people, they're going to register, but then we're not going to see them till November. And so we're running a Living Miraculously online 8-week program, which ends just before the retreat. So it'll end a week and a bit before the retreat. So you'll do the online program, and then we will meet you in person live in Spain for the retreat. So I just wanted to say that that detail is probably not included anywhere because Sheila didn't know about it. but now you do, and now everyone does.
We're always coming up with inspired actions, Sheila. So
yeah,
this is an inspired. So yeah, that I think as long as people have the link, you know, if you feel like you're interested in this exploration, obviously today we've really just done 3 distinctions that we see. We go deeper, we look at other subjects too, but you know, you really know by the feeling if this is for you. So please do check out the details. We'd love to see you in person. I must say, after being in person and also just having the retreat hosted for us by Sheila in her beautiful environment of Albir, it is such a treat. It really is, to get away to that beautiful place and to have this exploration and to be in community and connection together. So thank you, everybody, for today.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you for being with us.
Beautiful.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 Bye.